And welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today we've got another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes video for you. Specifically, we're looking at our series of Teams That Slap, and we're specifically looking at our series on the new territory battle and teams that slap within that new territory battle. Today is our third and final installment on that series, and that is the mixed teams that we think are going to do well in this new territory battle, I should say. Now, with that being said, this is a bit speculative. Some of it is definitely based on fact, some of it is a little bit more on the speculative side. So just keep that in mind as we move forward here. With that being said, let's get into it. Alright folks, so in this video we've got a series of teams that we're going to be looking at with a total, realistically, of 5 real teams. And then we've got some bonus content at the very end. 5 teams that we're pretty confident are going to do very, very well for you. And then some bonus, questionable stuff. A little bit more on the speculative side. So stay with us as we go through this and learn about some of these teams that we think are going to do very well in the mixed territory battle. So first and foremost, we're going to talk about the team that is without a doubt going to be the best one. Whether this is realistic for you to have or not, this is a different story. I know for me, I'm not going to have this team for a little while yet. Probably at least not for another year. Maybe more. We'll see. But that team is a Jabba the Hutt-led Hutt Cartel team. So with this team, you can see Jabba the Hutt obviously is our current lead. That's kind of our agreed leadership that works best at this point. Now, whether that'll be the case in this new TB is a little bit more up in the air. I do suspect, though, that Jabba the Hutt is going to be the best one moving forward in terms of a leadership. Now, the key to having a mixed team here is that you can't have all the same affiliations. So in other words, you can't have all dark side, you can't have all light side. And the key with this is that we have some light side and we have some dark side. So Jabba the Hutt, if we go in and look at him, we know that he is dark side. Chrysanthemum is dark side. Bush, I'm not sure how you say it. Leia is light side. Skiffguard Lando is light side. And then Gamorian Guard is dark side. So we have quite the variety of teams here. Now, Gamorrean Guard here is a little more questionable. You could certainly sub in another Hutt Cartel member if you wanted to. If you're going for a more offensive-based team, you might want to go with Embo, that kind of thing. I think, though, personally, you're going to be better off having Embo go with another Bounty Hunter team, for instance, and have Gamorrean Guard stick here with this team, because he's really not going to be useful anywhere else. Plus, it never hurts to have 2 tanks on a team, folks, especially in PvE content. So, if you are anyone that is near close to being able to work on Jabba, and you want to prioritize territory battle, I think this is definitely going to be your number 1 team that you want to go in and really, really work hard on. You can see I actually have started farming Bausch and Skiffguard Lando at the moment. That's why I said maybe within a year. Just depends on how long it takes to get these guys. And we'll see where my roster is at that point. But the next team, this is why. So let me say this before I get into the next team. This team and what is happening currently, and when I say currently, I will have meant this past week when this video comes out. What is going on in SWGOH right now tells me that this TB is dropping very soon. So basically our 2 options are either the 12th of December or the 26th of December. I am very, very, very confident it's going to be the 12th. They're not going to want to drop this over holiday break, folks. And the fact that we are seeing all of these requirements for Starkiller being pushed so hard in the game this past roughly 2 to 3 weeks, I would say, between Mara Jade getting bonus drops, her getting her, legacy style drops, all of those characters. Currently, Darth Talon, I am farming. She's my last one. She's got bonus drops plus the double drops. Dash just had bonus drops as well. They are just pointing hardcore to the fact that you are going to need Starkiller. So Jabba the Hutt, I think, is going to be one of the best teams to have, but I think this team, the Starkiller team, is going to be a must-have to be successful in the mixed side path in particular. Think back to light side and dark side. So, for instance, dark side, the GOTB, the Geonosians, I should say, were an absolute must in order to get, some of the characters. Same thing with the Separatist droids; they were an absolute must. Light side, pretty much, a Padme-led team and or a 501st Trooper team were your two must-haves. I think that this is going to be that must-have team on that mixed path. Again, Jabba, going to be great. He's going to get you probably max banners, but in terms of a requirement, I think this is absolutely going to be one of them. But besides that point, it's just an amazing team. There's no reason not to go for it, folks. You can see that I've got a ways to go, but I am hopeful within the first, 2 months of territory battle that I'll have this team up and running and fully ready to roll. So, all right, next up, this is kind of I had to put in a placeholder because we don't actually have Dr. Aphra in the game yet. This one's a little bit more on the speculative side, simply because we don't know what Dr. Aphra's kit looks like. But I think it's pretty safe to say that Dr. Aphra is going to pair with the two dark side droids here. Hondo Ohnaka, we know, is going to be one of the requirements for Dr. Aphra, and he is a neutral character. It would not shock me at all, folks, if you plug him into that Dr. Aphra-led droid team, and then you throw in just kind of another random scoundrel droid, question mark, for the 5th member, and I think that she's going to be absolutely super vital in the new TB. So we talked about how the light side and the dark side TBs in the past, for Geonosis in particular, required 2 teams for each of the iterations of it. This would be your 2 teams, folks, that are absolutely required. Starkiller, Dr. Aphra. One we've had for a while, similar to the droids in the dark side. One we have not, similar to the Geos with Geobrood Alpha coming out when the dark side came out. Don't be surprised at all, folks, if this is the same kind of thing that goes on here. One of them, the Starkiller team, is going to be the requirement that most people should have or can get very quickly. And then the Dr. Aphra one will be the carrot they're dangling out in front of you that you need to go hard on. So, again, a little bit on the speculative side with Dr. Aphra, but I think that is going to be a pretty safe bet for the most part. All right, so that's 3. Our 4th team is, again, I mentioned before, Embo could be used with bounty hunters. I think the bounty hunter faction is going to be super important to the mixed territory on this new TB. You've got Greef Karga, who is light side. You've got the Mandalorian, who is light side. You've got a number of other dark side bounty hunters that could work as well. Now, the question becomes, what version of the bounty hunters is going to be the best? That's a more difficult question to answer. The one that I have listed right here is not necessarily one that I think is going to be the best. Typically in PvE content, the Bosk leadership is the best. This is just the team that I have because they're my favorite team in the world. Outside of a Cat team. Cat's my favorite character. So anybody with Cat is my favorite character. But besides them, this is probably my most favorite team that I have, with the exception of Boba Fett. You gotta put Zam in there in GAC, and then that team absolutely rocks. Anyway, some version of a bounty hunter team, I'm sure, is going to be very, very essential for you. Bear in mind, they're probably going to have to all be relicked, at least to Relic 5, if not higher. So even if you do have the Mandalorian, for instance, and some version of this team, you're going to want him to be Relic 5. Same with Greef. In fact, I almost guarantee you that you're going to need the Mandalorian. Similar how the Traya teams were able to do well in Dark Side GOTB, it was mostly because of Nihilus and being able to annihilate people. I think that's going to be kind of a similar situation here with the Bounty Hunters. If you don't have the Mandalorian up and running and ready to go, it's going to be far less effective, in my opinion, than if you had him in the team. So, again, what specific version of this you use, a little bit more up to debate, but definitely Bounty Hunters are going to be a very valuable faction moving forward. So that's our 4th team. Our 5th team here is a little bit more of a toss-up. So I've got 2 teams that are kind of going to debate back and forth for your 5th slot. So the Mandalorians, I have them actually below the BAM team. Here's why. Even though the Mandalorian team is far better, generally speaking, remember that they're not necessarily a key player at this time period. versus, for instance, a Scoundrel team might be more vital at this time period. Now, the TB can be flexible. So I think both of these teams could be flexible moving forward. I personally think your best bet across the game is probably going to be the Mandalorian team. They're a far better team across the board. But the BAM team also is not bad. Notice that I have Nest in here. You can do kind of, these last two can be kind of messed around with and put whoever you want to in here. You do need to have a dark side member in this team because all four of these are light side. So you would need to have another bounty hunter of some kind or a scoundrel of some kind in that 5th slot. But Dengar fits very well within this team. So again, this is a good mixed team. This is a very good mixed team. Which one is going to be better, I think, is much, much, much more debatable. I would hope that because of Bo-Katan, and by the way, people could put Bo-Katan up here with Bam. I think she's better with the Mandalorians because she's just giving them constant healing and protection, regen, and all that stuff. So I think that this team, this is, again, more of my personal favorite, but it's possible that this BAM team is going to end up actually being better, folks. Let me know in the comments what you think. Do you think the Mandalorians are going to prove to be better, or do you think the BAM team is going to prove to be better? I think it's a little bit of a toss-up at the moment. Now, that gets us into kind of our bonus content. So our bonus content here is really one team, but it's a question mark of which team is better. It's kind of like our fifth team that we had here. It was kind of a question mark as to what version is going to be better. We have the Old Republic, some version of the Old Republic. Now you can see that if we do this version of the Old Republic, that means we lose Canderous Ordo in our Mandalorian team. Now you could theoretically sub in, like, for instance, Sabine into your Mandalorian team if you've got a strong Sabine. And then you could keep Canderous here down with your Old Republic. So there's some flexibility here really with these last 3 teams in particular. Not that I think you should do that. I definitely would not recommend taking Canderous Ordo out of your Mandalorian team, but there is a little bit of flexibility there. The other question becomes, so if you, for instance, if you decide to keep your Mandalorian team intact and you don't pull your Canderous Ordo, or you don't have Canderous Ordo, I should say, for your Old Republic team, well, then what you could do is maybe look at running a droid-led sortie team with one other possible issue. We'll come back to that in a second. Sortie, I think, is a definitive character that is going to be important in this new TB. The question just becomes, where is she going to be usable at? In this particular version, she's really just kind of got a bunch of leftovers. Droideka doesn't really have anywhere to go. I prefer to use Newt and or Watt in the Grievous-led team for dark side, so I don't think Droideka is going to really have a spot. Does fit here with Sortie. IG-88, same thing. Not really going to fit very well in a Bounty Hunter team. Fits really well for a droid team. T3M4, if you don't have an Old Republic team, fits really well here. HK-47, you're probably not going to use HK-47 with your Sith Empire at this point, so you're probably going to have HK left over to put into this team too. Now, here's the caveat with this team. One, if you're running an Old Republic team, then obviously you lose T3M4, but you could throw in really any other droid that you want to. That's not so much the issue. The bigger issue is Sortie. If you guys remember, we talked before about the Dr. Aphra team. Hondo is neutral. Might fit in there. If you have to have both a dark and light side droid, because we're not sure how they're going to word this yet, maybe Hondo himself is not enough. Maybe it has to be dark side and light side character. If that is the case, Sortie is going to fit really, really, really well into this Dr. Aphra team. Whether it be a Sortie lead or a Dr. Aphra lead, we don't know at this point. I'm guessing it's going to be a Dr. Aphra lead. But that's another reason why this bottom bonus team, that's why I said all 3 of these bonus bottom teams really are question marks. You may not have a droid version of a team because you might want to use Sortie up here with Dr. Aphra instead. Like I said, all of this is a little bit on the speculative side, especially as we get to the bottom part of this. But without a doubt, folks, Jabba the Hutt Cartel team, they're going to blow this path away. Definitely make them an A+ priority. Starkiller definitively is going to be very, very good, and I think a requirement. So you're definitely going to want to prioritize Starkiller. Dr. Aphra, when she comes out, and whatever version of her team is best, I think is also going to be a requirement like Starkiller. Again, I know a lot of you don't have them. Just something to think about for the long term. In terms of safe bets that most of you are probably going to have, though, that's going to be the Bounty Hunters and Scoundrels combining in some version, and or Malalorians, some version of those three teams. I think that's going to be what most people can see as being a pretty approachable team to use in the near future as you start to prioritize and farm for the better teams in the far off future. So hopefully you guys found this information useful today. Like I said, I think that the TB is going to be dropping here sooner rather than later. So if you haven't converted a lot of your stuff over for relic materials yet, folks, I'd get on it really quick. Really quick. Okay, we're going to cut back to the other video. And the other screen, I should say. And action. Okay, folks, that'll pretty much wrap us up here for today. If you liked what you saw, I appreciate if you guys gave me a like. If you want to catch more information that we have coming out on this channel, make sure you guys subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss anything. And last but not least, if you would like to join the live discussion either on Discord or in Twitch when we do our live streaming, you guys can check out all of those links and everything in the video description below. All right, everybody. Catch you next time.